idea of a united Europe has to be something that we all agree on. And at the moment, 450 million people who don't speak the same language have a very great difficulty in agreeing in anything, on anything. Now, recently on television, we've been watching The Lord of the Rings, and it is a story, an epic story of Western literature by Tolkien. And the final question he asks in this story is, will the Western civilization survive? Now, he sets out to show that power is a very corrupting process. In his story, which is set outside historical time, various kingdoms and shires have powers, or rings of power, areas of competence, if you want to use European language. And they all are held in a balance which is a Christian idea. The central character is Frodo Baggins, who is a hobbit, and the hobbits do not have any power whatsoever. But they don't complain. They think that life is never meant to be fair, and they just like life the way it is, and they end up not wanting to disturb or get into global wars or mass destruction. But when threats come from outside their own shire, they begin to see the need to defend their way of life. The threat is a single ring, the final ring, is the most powerful ring, and it's been handed to the hobbit Frodo Baggins. And the ring is more powerful than all the other 19 rings held in this world. And they set out to get rid of the ring, put it beyond power for anybody to get hold of. But they are threatened. They have the Lord Sauron, who wants to get hold of this ring, and he thinks that his ambition is to be the most powerful person in the whole world. But they try and try and try not to let the Sauron get hold of the ring. It is a struggle. Frodo Baggins has to go through an enormous amount of sadness, difficulty, pain, disappointment to prevent this man getting hold of this one powerful ring. And they have one helper called Gandalf. And Gandalf said, maybe you were put here to survive this very difficult situation. Maybe it was meant that you were asked to do this very difficult job. And I am reminded that our parents and our grandparents were in this situation in the past 2 world wars. They had to go through everything that was thrown at them. They were not powerful, but they resisted, and they stood up to the very great powers that were trying to take their country from them. Now, I cannot help but think of the commissioners as being Sauron commissioners. They are a secret group. They take decisions which only they are allowed to make. And this is the difficulty. Once they are in this position, they are corrupted by the enormous power that they have, and there is nothing that will stand up to them. And even in the novel, the good guys, Boromir, is tempted by this absolute power, and he's asked to try and get hold of the ring, and he's tempted to get hold of it. He said, well, if I can get it, I will use it quickly, and I can get rid of misery and history and death and all those things, and we will all be better for it. But the little hobbit, Frodo Baggins, said, no, that is not the way forward. That is a quick fix. You have to be more resilient than that. And just by thinking of this powerful ring, people are corrupted. It is very easy to see the similarities between that story and the operations of the Commission in Europe. Their thoughts, however good, however noble, Mr. Barroso says they are, we just want peace for our people, we just want to be good and hope and prosperous for all the people in Europe, that the temptation is there. And the fact is, he doesn't recognise it. Now, in August the 29th, the Pope was invited to the European Parliament, and Angela Merkel, the Chancellor, who is a Protestant, asked him, they both discussed the need to have the word Christianity and God in the Constitution. This secular document was opposed by Jack Straw, who said that with Christianity and God in the Constitution, it meant that the Muslims in his own constituency would be offended. Now, we have a problem in this country. Mr. Brown said there were 150,000 Muslims who were proactive in hating Britain and wanted to get rid of the Western way of life. Those were the people he knew about. They also have supporters. The fact also remains that in 50 years' time, the Arab population are going to double to 600 million. And the people of Britain are going to have to find something to combat this very, very great increase of a way of life that is not very interested in our civilization. The fact then arises that we cannot join these two civilizations together. They are not friendly to one another, nor are they going to be. And I think what could be said here is that we should look now for a united state of Christianity. We should ask that the people in Europe who have been shaped by Christianity, for example, Spain and France, who were fighting Islam in the 10th century, they would not be a country if they had not had this united belief in Christianity. The Christian idea would unite with people in Europe, people in China, people in America, South America, and people who are facing the onslaught of Islam. And if we don't have some spiritual roots to our unification in Europe, we are going to be outmaneuvered by the Muslims who have very great spiritual belief in their way of life. Why should our British servicemen go in and fight for something as uninspiring as unity in diversity, for whatever that means, when they should be fighting for the Queen, who is the defender of the faith, and have some loyalty to their own way of life in their own country? This is what unites people, not some weird document, secular document, which nobody quite understands. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and to lose his own country?